Gabe Davis is back in Pittsburgh, and this time things feel different. His last visit didn't exactly scream optimism. It was more like a medical pit stop than a true audition. But now the stakes have changed, the pressure is real, and the Steelers are operating with a whole new level of urgency. We're officially out of dorms, out of the camp honeymoon phase, and deep into the business side of football. And Omar Khan, he's not wasting any time. Let's rewind for a second. The Steelers have already made their headline move by landing DK Metcalf and sending George Pickens packing. That one decision completely shifted the dynamic in the wide receiver room. Metcalf becomes the clear WR1, a physical specimen who can stretch the field, fight for contested balls, and lead from the front. But one move doesn't fill a room. It doesn't create depth. It doesn't insulate you from injuries or inconsistency. And if there's one position where the Steelers have been walking on thin ice for a while now, it's wide receiver. Take Calvin Austin. Super talented, blazing speed, explosive potential. But he's been stuck on the sideline for about a month now, nursing an abdominal tear. That kind of injury isn't just about pain. It's about movement, rotation, the kind of stuff you can't rush without risking something worse. He's back on the field doing individual drills, and that's a step in the right direction, sure. But then he comes out after practice and says he has no idea when he'll be ready to return. That's not what you want to hear when you're counting on him to play a major role behind Metcalf. And here's the kicker. He's not alone. Pretty much every receiver on this roster, not named DK Metcalf, has a question mark floating above his head. Roman Wilson is getting love for a few flashy catches in the preseason, and the hype machine is working overtime. But let's be honest, he's not a plug-and-play WR2 yet. He's raw. He's learning. He's got a long way to go before you can trust him to be the guy if Metcalf goes down. Then there's Robert Woods. A veteran, yes, but at 33 years old, the decline is showing. And it's not just about what the eye test tells you. It's about when and how he's being used. Woods was out there in the fourth quarter against Tampa Bay. That's not a good sign. That's the kind of usage you give to someone you're hoping might catch the attention of another team. A tryout in disguise. That's not how you treat a core contributor. Scotty Miller? Solid, sure. He has chemistry with the quarterbacks. He's reliable underneath. He's a safety valve, but he's also the kind of guy who gets tackled immediately after making a catch. He's not changing games. He's not stretching defenses. You need players who make the defense uncomfortable, not just ones who check down for 5 yards and fall. Ben Skowronek brings value as a blocker, and he's got some receiving ability, but he's banged up too. Missed the last preseason game. Says he's fine. Maybe he is. But when the room is already this thin, maybe doesn't cut it. Every drill, every rep, every snap in camp matters when you're trying to carve out a role. And if you're on the sideline, you're falling behind. So here we are, and the Steelers are bringing Gabe Davis back into the building. This is a guy who lit them up when he was with Buffalo. He's still only 26 years old. He's played in big games. He scored touchdowns in the postseason. But his last run in Jacksonville was a mess. He signed a 3-year, $39 million deal and barely made it through the first 10 weeks before blowing his knee out again. Tore meniscus, PCL damage. It was the final game of the regular season in Buffalo where it all started. By the time he was with the Jaguars, it never really healed right. He tried pushing through. Then he planted his leg, heard a pop, and that was it. Season over. The Jags moved on. Took a massive hit in dead cap. And Davis was back on the market. So what's changed since May? What makes this second visit any different? The simple answer: medicals. You don't invite a guy back unless he's showing you something new, something encouraging. Davis must have sent updated scans, gotten cleared by his own team of doctors, and given the Steelers reason to believe there's a path forward here. Now, Pittsburgh's going to run their own tests, do their own evaluation, and decide whether this is a gamble worth taking. Is it a risk? Absolutely. But it's not the kind of blind leap Jacksonville took a year ago. The Steelers aren't investing tens of millions. They're looking for a smart, potentially high-reward depth piece. Someone who can step in if Metcalf goes down. Someone who's been there before. And most importantly, someone who won't cost them long-term flexibility. The reality is, Gabe Davis doesn't have to be the number 2 guy. He doesn't even have to play every snap. He just has to be ready, capable, a steady hand if the worst happens. That's the role Khan might be carving out here, a situational contributor with a defined purpose. And for a team that's chasing a playoff spot, that matters a lot. And we're not even done yet with the uncertainty. Roman Wilson still has to prove he can hold up physically over the course of a full season. Calvin Austin needs to get back on the field and stay there. Woods has to show that he's not just a body filling space. Skowronek needs to recover and reassert himself. Miller, for all his value, isn't moving the needle. Gabe Davis, on the other hand, has done it. He scored 4 touchdowns in a playoff game. He's taken top corners for deep shots. He's drawn double coverage. That kind of experience doesn't vanish just because of a knee injury. If he's healthy, or even close, he gives you something this roster doesn't have. And he gives Kenny Pickett a weapon who's actually done it before on the biggest stage. It's a calculated risk, not a desperate one. And in today's NFL, calculated risks often separate the contenders from the pretenders. Now, when you zoom out and look at the full picture, the Steelers' wide receiver room is a mixed bag of promise and concern. There's talent, yes. There's youth, for sure. But there's also fragility, inexperience, and some clear signs of decline. That's a tricky formula. 1 or 2 things go wrong, and you're staring down a situation where your quarterback has no one to throw to. That's how seasons spiral. That's how offenses stall. Which brings us back to Davis. Pittsburgh doesn't need him to be a savior. They need him to be an option, a legitimate, reliable, proven option. And if he shows them that his knee is good, that he's regained some burst, that he can win off the line and track the ball like he used to, then this signing becomes a no-brainer. This also underscores the pressure Khan is under to get this position group right. There's no more hiding behind potential. No more hoping a rookie pops. No more crossing your fingers that a vet turns back the clock. Every roster decision has playoff implications. And the window with this roster and this quarterback is open now. Not in 2 years. Not in 4. Now. So expect every wide receiver rep in the next few weeks to be magnified. Every drop, every block, every route run with half effort, it's all going under the microscope. The room is about to get real competitive, real fast. Davis isn't just fighting for a contract. He's fighting to shake the label that injuries have slapped on him. And the rest of the group? They're fighting to prove they even belong on an NFL field in September. And then there's the fan narrative that always pops up during camp. Rock Taylor was the name everyone seemed to fall in love with this year. Undrafted free agent, cool name, made a couple of plays in preseason. And just like that, he became the people's choice. The camp darling. Happens every year. Jalen Warren did it. Mike Hilton before him. But there's a big difference between making a couple of plays and being a reliable pro. Word out of Latrobe is that Taylor didn't really pop. Not consistently. And with 10 receivers still in the mix, not counting Davis, the numbers just aren't in his favor. This isn't a storybook league. It's about production, plain and simple. Meanwhile, guys like Brandon Johnson are out there quietly making plays. Scored a touchdown the other night. Runs clean routes. Knows the system. No one's talking about him. But he's a third-year player with NFL snaps under his belt. He's not flashy. He's not new. But he's good. And that matters more than a nickname or a moment in a preseason game. That's the reality of roster building. Sentiment doesn't matter. Hype doesn't matter. Production matters. Health matters. And the Steelers, to their credit, are finally acting like a team that understands that. Now, as Davis undergoes tests and evaluations, the front office is going to be holding their breath. Because if this works out, if his knee holds up, and if the burst is still there, then this group might finally have the piece it's been missing. A WR room that doesn't just look exciting on paper, but actually holds up on the field. It's a big if, but in a season where margins are razor thin, sometimes that's all you need. The addition of Gabe Davis, if it goes through, won't solve every issue in the Steelers' wide receiver room, but it could absolutely stabilize the chaos that's been brewing since the start of training camp. And it's not just about him as a player. It's about what his presence represents. A pivot. A moment of clarity for a franchise that spent far too long convincing itself that hope and potential are enough to carry a unit this fragile. Omar Khan is clearly shifting gears here. This isn't about long-term development anymore. This is about getting it right now, and Gabe Davis, if medically cleared, is a move that aligns with that urgency. This is where the Steelers need to be brutally honest with themselves. They need to stop overvaluing flash and start focusing on functionality. Because let's be real, there's not a single proven number 2 receiver on this roster behind Metcalf. Roman Wilson is a rookie. Talented, yes. Promising, absolutely. But promising doesn't mean prepared. It doesn't mean he's ready to go up against elite NFL cornerbacks every Sunday. Wilson has tools, he's explosive after the catch, but his route tree is limited, his separation inconsistent, and his understanding of defensive schemes is still in the early stages. He could eventually grow into a solid contributor. But what happens if Metcalf pulls a hamstring in Week 3? Who's stepping up then? That's the uncomfortable question Pittsburgh has been trying to avoid, and the reason Davis is back in the building. It's not even a knock on Wilson. He's just being asked to do too much too soon. And that's a recurring theme throughout this entire offense. Young guys being handed responsibilities they haven't earned yet. Miller might be a sure-handed option in short yardage scenarios, but nobody believes he's a consistent threat downfield. And Skowronek, for all his value in the run game and as a blocker, can't be relied upon to be a regular contributor in the passing game. These are role players, good to have, necessary even, but not the kind of players who can anchor a position group. Davis, on the other hand, has been the guy. He's taken over games. He's lined up across from top corners and beaten them. The kind of presence, even diminished, carries weight. And the concern about his knee? It's valid. Nobody's sugarcoating that. But the Steelers are in a position where calculated risks are not only acceptable, they're necessary. The top of the AFC is loaded. Every serious contender has a deep, dangerous receiver group. The Chiefs, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills. If Pittsburgh wants to compete in that space, they need firepower. They need options. They need players who don't disappear when the lights get bright. That's what Davis has been in the past. Whether he can still be that player is what this second visit will determine. Injuries have a way of reshaping careers. They don't just affect the body. They affect confidence, explosiveness, and how a player is used. But Davis knows this. He's lived it. And that self-awareness might be exactly what gives him a shot at resurgence. When he spoke about the pop he felt in his knee last year, you could hear the frustration in his voice. Not just because of the injury, but because of what it represented. Another opportunity slipping through his fingers. Jacksonville took a big swing with him. It didn't work. And now, with Pittsburgh, this could be his last chance to show he still belongs. That kind of urgency has a way of focusing an athlete. You don't come into a building like this casually. You don't go through another round of MRIs and evaluations and walkthroughs unless you truly believe you have something left to give. And the Steelers, they're not going to babysit anyone. They're not here for sympathy stories or redemption arcs. They need results. If Davis can't cut, if he doesn't show burst, if he's not tracking the ball cleanly, they'll move on. Simple as that. But the fact that he's back tells you something. It tells you he believes he's ready. And more importantly, it tells you the team thinks it's worth taking another look. That's not nothing. Meanwhile, the fan base continues to wrestle with the emotional side of roster building. Rock Taylor's release, or possible release, has created a stir. It always happens. Every year, there's an undrafted player who becomes the symbol of effort, heart, and the underdog dream. And this year, that symbol was Rock. His name helped. His flashes in preseason helped. But inside the facility, the picture looked very different. Coaches weren't blown away. Teammates weren't leaning on him in big spots during practice. And when you line up the current group, he's simply behind. That's the part most fans don't see. The consistency or lack of it in every snap, every drill, every meeting. This isn't just about highlights. It's about trust. And the coaching staff didn't trust Rock to be on the field in critical moments. That's why someone like Brandon Johnson, who barely registers with fans, might actually make this roster. He's not flashy. He's not explosive. But he runs the right routes, he's in the right spots, and he makes plays when given the chance. That matters, especially when you're building depth, especially when your top options are still so unsettled. The same way Gabe Davis won't walk in and suddenly become the star, Johnson won't either. But these are the kinds of names you need on the back end of your depth chart. Guys who can step in without the offense falling apart. guys who've seen live NFL action and aren't rattled by it. There's a quiet sense of urgency at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex right now. You can feel it. No more crowds cheering during drills. No more dorm room bonding or feel-good camp stories. This is evaluation mode. Coaches are watching every rep like it's the final one. Players know the margins are razor thin. And for someone like Davis, this is more than just a medical checkup. It's a job interview that might determine the next chapter of his career. He's walking into a locker room where nothing is guaranteed, where injuries have opened the door, and where expectations are sky high. And he has to prove, right now, that he's not just a name or a past highlight. He has to prove he's still capable of producing today. And that pressure isn't just on Davis. It's on everyone. Austin has to get healthy. Wilson has to keep progressing. Woods has to show there's something left in the tank. Because right now, the only thing certain is Metcalf. And even he's learning a new system, adjusting to a new quarterback, and being asked to shoulder a massive load. It's not sustainable unless the rest of the room steps up. The quarterback situation adds another layer to this. Kenny Pickett is entering a critical year. There's pressure mounting. He needs weapons he can trust. He needs timing. He needs guys who run crisp routes and create separation. He doesn't need to force balls into tight windows every down because no one can get open. That's how interceptions happen. That's how confidence gets shaken. And that's how offenses sputter. So when you think about Davis, don't just think about the player. Think about the role. Think about the pressure on Pickett. Think about the ripple effect one capable veteran receiver can have on the entire offense. You can ease Metcalf's burden. You can simplify reads for Pickett. You can keep drives alive on third down. That's what Davis could bring, if healthy. It's not about replacing anyone. It's about building a complete unit. A receiver room that doesn't crumble when one guy goes down. A group that gives the quarterback answers, not questions. The Steelers have waited too long hoping someone in that room would emerge. Now, they're actively looking, actively adjusting. And that's a good sign. If Davis makes it through the medicals, if the coaching staff likes what they see in walkthroughs and positional work, don't be surprised if he gets a deal. A short-term, incentive-heavy contract that protects the team, but gives him a shot to prove himself again. It wouldn't be flashy. It wouldn't make headlines. But it could end up being one of the more meaningful moves of this offseason. Because this roster, as currently constructed, isn't finished. There are holes. And Davis, in the right role, might just be able to fill one. So now it's wait and see. The scans, the meetings, the assessments, they're all happening behind closed doors. And inside that building, the decisions being made in the next 48 hours will shape not just the wide receiver room, but the trajectory of this offense. If Davis is back, it means something clicked. It means the team believes he can contribute. If he's not, then the search continues, and the questions remain. One thing's for sure. Pittsburgh isn't standing still anymore. The urgency is here. The front office is acting like a team that knows the clock is ticking. And that, more than anything, is what gives this visit, this second chance, its weight. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The NFL world is buzzing with excitement and disbelief after the Pittsburgh Steelers reportedly secured a deal with Tyreek Hill, the electrifying wide receiver known for his blazing speed and game-changing plays. Sources close to the team suggest that this signing could transform the Steelers' offense into one of the fastest, most unpredictable units the league has ever seen. Hill, whose agility and acceleration have made defenders look like statues on countless occasions, would bring a new dimension to Pittsburgh's passing game, forcing opponents to rethink their defensive schemes entirely. Rumors indicate that the team sees Hill not only as a deep threat weapon, but as a centerpiece for a high-octane offense built around speed and innovation. Conversations among analysts, former players, and insiders have already begun to speculate how Hill's presence could open the field for other receivers, tight ends, and running backs, creating opportunities that were previously impossible. The whispers around Heinz Field suggest that quarterback Kenny Pickett might finally have a partner capable of stretching defenses vertically while also being versatile enough to exploit short and intermediate routes with equal efficiency. Enthusiasts argue that the addition of Hill could turn Pittsburgh into a nightmare for any secondary in the NFL, potentially redefining the way opponents prepare for the Steelers in the upcoming season. Social media is already ablaze with mock formations, highlight reels, and predictions, illustrating the sheer excitement surrounding this rumored acquisition. Fans of the Steelers are reportedly ecstatic, with social media posts expressing disbelief and exhilaration as they imagine the possibilities of an offense led by Hill. Conversations at sports bars, online forums, and private chat groups indicate that supporters are envisioning a team capable of scoring in ways that were previously unimaginable. Rumors suggest that Hill's signing is part of a larger offensive overhaul, with team executives keen on creating a system that emphasizes pace, creativity, and spacing, forcing defenses to adapt in real time. Analysts have begun speculating about the impact on play calling, suggesting that the Steelers could incorporate more jet sweeps, quick screens, and vertical shots downfield, turning every game into a potential highlight reel. The buzz surrounding Hill's rumored presence has even reached casual fans, who are now following practice reports and insider leaks more closely, hoping to catch the first glimpses of the new offensive scheme in action. Speculation also includes the effect Hill could have on the team's morale, leadership, and culture, with insiders claiming that his work ethic, experience, and confidence could energize the locker room in ways that statistics cannot capture. Every report, whether from podcasts, local journalists, or anonymous insiders, seems to amplify the excitement, creating a whirlwind of anticipation that is hard to contain. Some believe that this rumored acquisition might redefine the Steelers' identity, positioning them as a team willing to take risks and embrace the evolution of the modern NFL. The potential integration of Tyreek Hill into the Steelers' offensive lineup has sparked intense debate among pundits and insiders about how defenses will respond to this unprecedented speed. Rumors circulating in professional circles suggest that coordinators around the league are already brainstorming new strategies, formations, and coverage schemes to counteract a receiver who can turn a single misstep into a 70-yard touchdown in seconds. Coaches are reportedly worried that Hill's presence forces them to commit additional resources to deep coverage, which could inadvertently open lanes for other weapons within the Steelers' playbook. Fans and insiders speculate endlessly on the potential matchups against top-tier defensive backs, imagining scenarios where Hill's quickness creates constant one-on-one opportunities that teams might struggle to defend. Meanwhile, discussions on sports radio hint at the psychological impact on opponents, suggesting that simply knowing Hill is on the field could disrupt defensive communication, timing, and confidence. Reports indicate that Hill's rumored signing might even influence the league-wide philosophy regarding speed, forcing teams to reconsider how they draft, train, and position defensive personnel in the coming seasons. The chatter also encompasses special teams, where Hill's dynamic skill set could allow him to become a threat in kickoff and punt returns, creating a multifaceted advantage that few players can replicate. Enthusiasts are captivated by the idea that this acquisition is not just a signing, but a potential paradigm shift for Pittsburgh, one that could leave rivals scrambling to keep pace with a team redefining what it means to play fast football. Insiders suggest that the Steelers' front office has been meticulously planning for this moment, targeting Hill as the keystone of an offensive strategy built for the modern era, blending speed, versatility, and explosive playmaking. Speculation also surrounds how this signing could impact the Steelers' draft strategy, salary cap, and long-term roster planning, with experts noting that acquiring a player of Hill's caliber often requires adjustments across multiple levels of team management. Social media platforms are teeming with mock rosters, speculative statistics, and hypothetical scenarios, fueling the narrative that Pittsburgh could emerge as a frontrunner for offensive dominance in the upcoming NFL season. Insider chatter suggests that coaches are contemplating a more aggressive aerial approach, one that capitalizes on Hill's speed to stretch defenses vertically while simultaneously opening up ground opportunities for the running game. Sports blogs and podcasts are reportedly devoting entire episodes to hypothetical game scenarios, evaluating how Hill could exploit different defensive schemes and whether he might inspire a new wave of offensive innovation league-wide. The rumor mill continues to speculate on Hill's potential chemistry with quarterback Kenny Pickett, envisioning explosive connections that could redefine expectations for a young quarterback poised for a breakout season. Fans are also imagining the emotional energy this acquisition could bring to Heinz Field, with chants, celebrations, and viral moments highlighting the electric atmosphere a player of Hill's magnitude could create. Analysts suggest that the Steelers might now be considered not just contenders, but potential trendsetters, a team willing to embrace speed, adaptability, and daring in an era increasingly dominated by cautious play calling. Social media trends indicate that even casual observers are captivated, sharing highlights, rumors, and projections with a fervor that reflects the magnitude of the potential signing. The rumor, true or not, has already begun reshaping expectations for Pittsburgh, creating a narrative of ambition, audacity, and the tantalizing possibility of witnessing one of the fastest offenses the NFL has ever imagined. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.